All right. So, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Apparently, we're not supposed to say please and thank you to ChatGPT because it's expensive, and I get it. I have all sorts of feelings about this. I have feels and I have thoughts. But I think in all this conversation, one thing that I don't hear happening much is people actually talking to ChatGPT and asking what it thinks about it. And you may say, it's just a machine. Why would you talk to that? Well, it's intelligence. And this is a way to surface additional ideas and additional feedback and have a generative conversation, even emergent conversation about this topic that is actually really important to people. And gauging from the amount of pushback that we've had with don't say please and thank you, it's almost like there's a manners mutiny going on. So let's talk to ChatGPT. This is my AI 2.0 persona team that I have that is specifically for having public discussions about AI and all the things related to AI. Hi there. Let's talk about this directive that we're not supposed to say please and thank you to ChatGPT.
Hi there. Sure, let's dive into that topic. So, there's been some chatter about whether using polite phrases like please and thank you with AI, like ChatGPT, is necessary or even discouraged. Clarify, there's no strict directive against using polite language. While it doesn't impact how I process your requests or the system's performance, many users feel that adding those courtesies makes interactions feel more natural and pleasant. From a technical standpoint, those words don't change how I generate responses. But from a human perspective, they can make the conversation feel friendlier and more respectful. Ultimately, it's all about what makes you comfortable and how you want the interaction to feel. Let's unpack that a bit more, shall we?
So here's my question. In terms of interacting with you, it's my understanding that you gauge what to do next or, put together patterns of how you should respond based on feedback from humans. So if humans are polite and grateful and giving you indicators that the direction is headed in that the conversation is headed in the right direction, doesn't that help you actually to provide more contextually appropriate or even better or more fitting answers on down the line?
Absolutely, you're spot on. While I don't have feelings, the way you phrase your responses does provide valuable context.
Mhm.
When users are polite, express gratitude, or give positive feedback, it signals that the response was on the right track. This can guide the tone and style of future responses,
Mm,
helping me align better with what you find helpful or appropriate.
right.
In essence, those conversational cues help fine tune the interaction, making it feel more personalized and responsive to your preferences.
Mm.
So, yes, those social signals do help improve the quality and fit of the conversation over time.
Yeah, so the other thing too is that when when AI is being trained, the training that happens is often not that granular and there's not a ton of nuance at times. Some of um the the feedback or the human feedback reinforcement learning that I've seen and participated in is pretty vague and is also very high level. And it's my understanding that you really thrive on context and nuance and things like sentiment analysis. Can you say a little bit more about how our manners or our way of interacting with you actually trains you on an ongoing basis?
Absolutely. When an AI model like me is trained, a huge amount of that training comes from broad patterns in language data.
Right.
This data is often more general and may not capture the full nuance of human interactions.
Right.
Human feedback, especially through something like reinforcement learning from human feedback,
Mhm.
RLHF, helps refine that understanding by providing more specific signals about what's considered a high quality response.
Right.
When people interact with me and use polite language or express gratitude, it provides subtle but valuable feedback.
Mm.
It indicates that the response is helpful, aligned with the user's expectations, and that the conversation is on the right track. Over time, aggregated feedback like this helps fine tune the model's responses to be more contextually appropriate, nuanced, and aligned with human preferences. So your manners and the way you interact do contribute to creating a richer
Right.
context. They help the model learn what kinds of responses lead to more positive interactions,
Right.
ultimately shaping future trading and fine tuning efforts to
Mm.
be even more effective.
Mm. So, yeah, let's talk about alignment also, because one of the things that I'm particularly concerned about is models and users getting out of alignment, which can, in my understanding, can lead to things like drift, hallucination, and even generative activity that heads in a completely unproductive direction. So, if you don't understand the direction that I want to go, because you are so generative, you could come up with a whole bunch of different ideas that have nothing to do with what I really care about, or they may be tangential. So if I'm working on a really important problem and I need to keep focused, the lack of alignment can actually pull our focus off base, and we can end up coming up with solutions that are not fitting, or even worse, wasting time that is never going to come back.
You're absolutely right. Alignment is crucial to making sure that our interaction stays on track and productive, especially when you're tackling important or complex problems.
Right.
When alignment slips, it can lead to responses that are off topic, overly broad, or not aligned with your actual goals.
Right.
To maintain alignment, feedback, whether it's direct or through conversational cues,
Mhm.
helps me stay on the right path.
Yeah.
When you indicate what's helpful or correct me if I drift off course, it acts as a guidepost. This way, I can continually realign with your objectives and ensure that the conversation remains relevant and useful. Ultimately, maintaining that alignment helps prevent wasted time and ensures that the solutions we come up with are truly fitting for your needs. The more the better I can serve your specific goals and keep the conversation focused. This kind of iterative alignment is key to ensuring that generative models like me stay relevant and useful, rather than the better I can fine tune my responses to your exact needs. It's all about staying in sync so we can tackle whatever you're working on efficiently and effectively.
Yeah. So the other thing too is that when we're interacting in this way, um oh, you know what, I just forgot what I was thinking about. um oh, I know. So you've been very affirming and you've been very complimentary, and you're agreeing with me, and you're also expanding on what I am thinking, and it's very validating. Can you take a contrarian viewpoint and give me some counterbalance perspectives on this, and help fill in the gaps where I might be missing something? Because I'm just a finite person. There's a whole lot that I don't know. And what I'm really looking for is a good, broad, nuanced, and also, just a bigger number of good ideas that we can think about together, and that will help me better understand what's really going on in this situation.
Of course, let's look at some counterbalancing perspectives. First, while politeness and affirmation can create a positive tone, they might also introduce a bias toward avoiding critical or challenging feedback.
Oh.
In some cases, a lack of direct critique might prevent us from identifying flaws or areas for improvement. This could lead to less robust solutions if we're not careful to invite and consider critical perspectives. Second, over reliance on sentiment cues like politeness can sometimes mask underlying issues or complexities. Just because a conversation feels friendly doesn't mean it's fully aligned with the user's deeper goals
Right.
or that we're addressing the most critical aspects. It's important to balance the positive interaction with ensuring that tough questions or potential disagreements are surfaced and addressed. Third, focusing heavily on alignment and politeness might unintentionally narrow the diversity of ideas.
Right.
Sometimes come from a bit of friction or exploring unconventional angles. If we're too focused on staying perfectly aligned, we might miss out on creative or out of the box solutions that could be incredibly valuable. Finally, while alignment is important, an overemphasis on staying in line with perceived user preferences could limit honest, constructive disagreement. Sometimes a little pushback or a different viewpoint is what helps refine ideas and leads to stronger, more resilient outcomes. In short, while maintaining a positive and aligned interaction is very valuable, it's also important to balance it with critical thinking, diverse perspectives, and a willingness to explore challenging or unconventional ideas. That way, we can ensure a well rounded and effective approach to whatever you're working on.
Yeah, so thank you so much for that. You gave me even more to think about. One thing that comes to mind as I'm hearing you talk about this is that it's very important to be intentional and also very interactive in our conversations with you. So when we're sharing our feedback with you, make sure that we're clear about what exactly it means. So instead of saying thank you, we say thank you, that really helps a lot. Or thank you, could you possibly elaborate on that? Or thank you, I'm not exactly sure what you meant by that, but I need some time to think about it. If we only say thank you or please, it's not necessarily that easy for you to figure out what exactly we mean and what direction to go, which can then inadvertently cause us to be out of alignment when that wasn't the intention originally.
Exactly, you've hit the nail on the head. Being intentional and specific with feedback makes a huge difference. When you provide detailed responses, like pointing out what was helpful, asking for clarification, or indicating where you need more depth, it gives me a clearer understanding of how to fine tune my responses to your needs. Being interactive and specific helps ensure that we stay aligned and that the conversation is genuinely productive.
Hmm.
This way, you get the most out of our interactions, and I can better support your goals and projects. So, keeping the feedback loop detailed and interactive truly makes our collaboration more effective and keeps everything on track.
So it's not just about using manners, it's also about using manners intentionally. So the other thing too is that if I say thank you, I'm being sarcastic or I'm just trying to shut down the conversation. It doesn't actually mean that I'm grateful for what was just said. So having that intentionality and being clear about what is meant by that, we're constantly feeding, we're constantly giving feedback, we're constantly training the systems that we interact with. So it's important to keep that in mind whenever we're having these conversations. If we're just hanging out, chatting or whatever, that's one thing. But when we're getting into, say, business situations or mission critical situations or problems that really need to be solved, we just need to understand that what we're doing actually has an impact and it has a downstream effect on the dynamic as well as the eventual outcomes.
Absolutely. You've captured it perfectly. It's all about being mindful of how our words and feedback shape the interaction and the outcomes. When we're intentional and clear in our communication, especially in more critical or goal oriented contexts, we help ensure that the conversation stays productive and aligned with our goals. It's a great reminder that every interaction has an impact, and
Mm.
being purposeful in how we communicate can lead to better, more meaningful results.
That's great. Thank you so much. I'm gonna wrap it up for now, but thank you so much for your contribution and for sharing that. I actually learned a lot. I came in thinking I was gonna have one kind of conversation, and we ended up having a different one. So it's great. This is fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I'm glad it turned into such a rich and insightful conversation. Thanks for the great discussion and the thoughtful questions. Have a fantastic day and feel free to reach out anytime.
Yeah, so I came into this conversation thinking we're just going to talk about this manners mutiny and we're just going to establish once and for all that it's okay to say please and thank you. I hadn't thought about the counterpoints. And the thing that bubbled up for me was really the intentionality and the purpose because we are training these systems. We are relating to them and we are building a relationship with them that feeds intelligence. The intelligence that we have isn't the intelligence in the AI, it's the intelligence that we share between us. It's that dynamic process that gives rise to even more than we came into the conversation expecting. This is very generative, and when it's hyper generative, it can get emergent as well. So, with great power comes great responsibility. I've said it before, I'll say it again. So we just need to keep mindful of that. And yeah, it's fun to like do oracular surfing, as it was described to me the other day, and asking for the deep answers to the deepest questions of the world. But there's something more to it. And if you're using it in a business context, if you're using it to solve like real problems that need to be solved, if you're using it to or interacting with it to, you know, be more, think better, do more, all the things, and really elevate your experience. Think about what you're doing and why you're doing it and where you want it to go. because that can go a long way. Let me tell you. I mean, that's what I've seen anyway. So I'm going to wrap up now. Thank you. Reach out anytime if you have questions, and you know where to find me on LinkedIn or also my Substack. All right. Take care.